Thank you, everyone. And now it is time and my pleasure to announce the man of the hour. Everyone put your hands together for Nigel Boyle.
Hello. My name's Nigel, and I'm going to be your bartender for the evening. When the idea of a retirement do was first mooted, my reaction, like most faculty members here, was, oh God, no. But then I'd remembered all of the times that I had twisted the arms of retiring faculty into having a retirement dinner or some such event. And I always use the same argument. It's not about you, it's about Pitzer, and it's about passing the torch on to the next generation. So I agreed to do this on one condition: no colleagues, past or present, would speak at this event. I've been the dean. I know too much. I know where a lot of the bodies are buried. So as far as faculty colleagues are concerned, omerta. Only former students will speak. This is an alumni event. Neither have I asked friends and family who are here to speak tonight either. To them I say, keep your powder dry for my wake. Okay, so what we're going to do here is, as the bartender at Boyle's Bar here, I'm going to serve 3 rounds of drinks to 3 groups of 4 students. The drinks are behind the bar here. We've got some nice Jameson's whiskey. There's some Guinnesses back here. And so some mineral water for anyone that might be so inclined. In the case of Bernie Hernandez, I've got to do an Irish car bomb, apparently. So just if ever you go to Ireland, do not ask for an Irish car bomb. Okay, it will not go well. So, but I'm going to invite these 3 groups of students to come up to say a few words about their experience here in the different eras of my career. These 3 students are come from the sort of 3 chapters of my career here at Pitzer as a teacher and advisor. So the first group will be Juan de Lara, Ciapo Portillo, Carla Rodas, and Carlos Campos. The first 3 were freshman students in my first year seminar when I was a freshman professor here. But they, plus Carlos Campos, were all in a class that I taught a lot back in the 1990s, on one occasion co-teaching with Lourdes Arguelles, called Political Studies 160, Labour and Politics, internships. So that will be the first group. The second group are from my era as Pitzer's fellowships pimp. We have Lexi Spencer Notarbartolo, Amy Jasper, Paul Kim, who is stuck in traffic and hopefully will get here shortly, and Cesar Vargas, all of whom were in one way and another in a class that I taught back in the day, which was originally our IAS 100 International Studies workshop. The third group will be Michael Griggs, Kenny Butler, Danny Camarena, and Bernie Hernandez, all of whom, one way or another, were in class Glass 180, the carceral state in comparative perspective, that I've taught 3 times now as an inside-out class at CRC Norco. So that's basically it. It's going to be 3 rounds of drinks with a few fairly, well, we'll see how drunken the comments are, but... So with that in mind, I would like to invite the first group. So Juan, Ciapa, Carla, and Carlos. Would you come up to the bar, please? Carla, what do you have? Guinness? Yeah. Okay. Okay, Guinness. There is whiskey here, don't worry. So, a Guinness for Carla, And Carla, you're the eldest by year. Why don't you get started? So. Oh yes, sorry.
Do I have to sit or can I stand, or how does it work?
You can do anything you want, Carla.
Are you sure about that?
What did you learn in my class?
All right. So my name is Carla Rodas. When I was here, I'm Carla Rodas Piña now. I'm class of 95. And let me get started. So my sophomore year, I remember I had to take a history class. I was a biology major, human biology major. And I remember Michael Torres, who's a really good friend of mine. Hey, dude, they're taking a class, a European something. It's, I think it was Mondays, seminar from 7 to 9. So like, let's go. And then we knew Juan, and Juan came to like, let's go. And then we had Curtis Ruiz, who, for those of you who may not, he was our cholito. So here goes the four of us. I think, Nigel, correct me if I'm wrong. Was I the only female in the
I think you were.
I think I was the only female, and short too. And I was thinner back then as well. So we go in there, and we sat down, and we were like, he starts speaking, and I'm like, dude, who is this white guy with this funny accent? And why are we here? So we look at the syllabus, and I remember Nigel, and he was a little, oh. It's no coincidence I'm wearing the same earrings. I do have other kinds of earrings, please, I promise you. And I'm wearing this because I reside right now in West Palm Beach, and I can't really wear this, as I do stand with immigrants 100% every day. And I learned that from here. So again, going back to Nigel Boyle, so he was nervous. And we were like, we got this. And then I remember after that, it was Juan, Michael, and I were like, dude, what the heck is that class? Are we going back? And we were introducing ourselves, and I'm from the Mission District in California, in San Francisco. Mike is from New York, Juan is from Coachella, and then everybody else, we were talking about it, they were, oh, we went to this private school, and we were like, dude, what the heck are we? Long story short, we loved the class. But more than that, I think it was a connection that I had with Nigel. And here at Pitzer, and I don't have to tell everybody who was here, Jose Calderon, Lourdes Arguelles, Ann Stromberg, Sarava, he was my thesis advisor, and Nigel, those 5 people kind of helped mold who I am now. So, and it's because of the activism that I was able to do here. I think with Nigel, when I took the class with Suyapa and Juan, when we were doing the
Labor internships.
I was like, let's go. I became this little rebel, right? But Nigel, we kind of kept in touch, but this white Irish man with his funny accent and his love for soccer really kind of shaped who I was becoming here at Pitzer. And him and Lourdes Arguelles, who she's not able to be here, and Jose Calderon and Ann Stromberg, I really thank them. I know I'm gonna keep in touch with them, but I wanted everybody to know that I was there from day one, and I continue to be here, so.
Siapa's next. Okay. Siapa.
He has a speech. He's ready.
I have
Okay.
a speech. First of all, sorry. I want to clarify that I'm here as Nigel's former student and Pitzer alumni, not as his colleague. I will not speak about the role of Dean of Faculty. That is for another panel. Just kidding. He made frenemies as Dean of Faculty, but thankfully I was not one of them. I do want to say, what is that? That's really good. I wanted it. Okay. Oh, it's Irish whiskey.
Yeah.
Oof. Okay. I do want to say their stories. And it starts with, a second. No, it's okay. Amarula. You can ask him later. Okay. So the top 4 things I learned from Nigel Boyle. Here's my countdown of top 4 things I learned from Boyle. 4, the Irish and Hondurans have a lot in common. We have the gift of gab. We love soccer. We love to drink hard liquor. And we curse a lot for any reason or nothing at all. Like the Irish immigrants at the turn of the century, Hondurans are now considered gang members, ruffians, unwelcome, and undesirable immigrants in Trump's era. So we have a lot in common there. The third thing, create space for lived experience in the classroom. And this is where I'm going to talk about what Carla is talking about. So I took the labor class because Juan and Carla roped me into it. And I was like, all right, cool people are going to be in there. I should go. And his class created space that connected my lived experience to the classroom. I took the class twice. Can you imagine a student taking your class twice? Mostly because he needed a driver that knew LA. So I got RA credit for that. I did. But really, because I really was committed to the class. I often say that Central American immigrants, we have like 2 or 3 lives, and we keep them all separate. And I had the life of a student here at Pitzer, very calm and like sort of really bougie. And then I had the life of, a Central American immigrant who he didn't have legal status yet, who was, had family that had been entwined in sort of justice work. And I kept them separate. I always talk about this with Jose Calderon as well. Like, we kept those lives separate, our precarious immigrant status. Like, we didn't talk about our family at home and like all the crazy stuff that happened. But the class, I know, but not like publicly.
Arguelles made me.
Oh, I know, Arguelles, yeah. So this class brought things together for me. My mom was a chief shop steward at Local 11, so I got to be active in a lot of her sort of actions. Like the first time my mom got arrested as a non-citizen, imagine that happened in the 90s. Like, I got to know the politics of LA, and after I graduated, I ended up going to work for Korean Immigrant Workers Advocates from that gig as an intern. It was really poorly paid, by the way, But now I have all this experience I can write about, and now that undergrad experience was sort of really important, right, for me to develop into who I am now. And I write about labor and international, transnational labor, workers' lives, and that kind of emerged from that class. So thank you, Nigel. The second thing I learned, so it said the third. Do not build institutions, whatever you do, and maybe that's between you and Lourdes to talk about. Do not build institutions. Institutions are tools of the system and will ultimately betray you, okay? I think the literature in the class kind of had some stuff like that. And it allowed me to come to this conclusion. And as a result, all these years, I've kept this in my mind, right? Build people, not institutions. And number 1, be a friend and have people's backs. Nigel's a good friend. Though we are not always exactly aligned, and though I did not get everything I wanted when he was dean, and we did not see, and we did not see eye to eye on several issues, and even though there were some difficult challenges I have faced here at Pitzer, Nigel remained a good friend and a trusted ally. Nigel, I know this will remain as you go off into your next adventures. Please know you will have a friend in me.
Thank you, Siap. Actually, Juan next.
I'm older than you. Is this on? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I know Nigel knows all about Irish, but this is the best my people have. So congratulations.
Thank you, Siap.
That's it?
That's it.
Thank you. I'm sorry. No, you do.
Okay. Hi, everyone. When Nigel emailed me, I'm like, what the hell? Why are you retiring? It means you're old, and it means I'm old. And even though I had something scheduled for today, when he told me that, can you please be, when he asked me if he could please be here, I said, absolutely. Even though I angered other people for canceling on them, I needed to be here. I needed to be here. And so I think from my earliest memories of Pitzer, Nigel has always been there. As he said, it was his first year, you know, and the first week, I think, that I was on campus, they rounded us up here at the auditorium, and we had to take a writing assessment for all first-year students, and I did terribly. And so I did so terribly that I was funneled into a writing class as opposed to a freshman seminar, which was supposed to be a more advanced writing class. And so naturally I said no. And I met with Judy Grabner. And I said, I want to get into this class. And she said, well, you have to go talk to Nigel. And so I did. And I said, Nigel, I didn't do well. But you know that this is an elitist institution, and these are the tools of oppression and exclusion. And therefore, you need to let me into your class. And lo and behold, he said, okay. And I knew then and there that this guy was a keeper, and that he would have a profound impact on the rest of my life, which he has, absolutely. And I think it's important for me anyways, to think about that early introduction was really an important first lesson about who he was as a person, who he would become as a mentor, and an advocate, and a lifelong ally and later friend. I learned that the youngest professor, and it's funny because we wrote the same thing, the youngest professor with the funny accent, right, was going to be a lifelong presence for me. I don't think that Nigel knew it at the time. I certainly didn't know it at the time. But those first few meetings that we had were really, profoundly important to me. I was a young Chicano kid, just coming out of a terrible public education system where at the time I think the dropout rate was close to 50%. And so I wasn't kidding when I said that these are elite, these institutions are meant to keep us out. And yet, Nigel was one of the few people, as Carla mentioned, that made Pitzer feel like home, like I belonged here. I don't know if, unless you understand that transition from Coachella to Pitzer, it was a wild change. It was a totally foreign landscape and a foreign place. And it took people like Nigel and Jose and other people, friends that we made along the way, to cultivate and to nourish a sense of belonging and a sense of ownership in this place. And I think that Nigel played a tremendous role in that for me as a person. More important than any of that, and I learned so much from Nigel, and most of it actually outside of the classroom, right? Is he extended and he's opened the doors for me and allowed me to be part of his extended family. And I cannot overemphasize how important that was. We took trips together, right? Even though we weren't officially taking trips together, maybe one of them. But I ended up coming with him and Vanessa and little Molly, who was there, a baby at the time, to Mexico. We drove across Chihuahua, Mexico in a kind of, in a very subversive way. We were collecting mistletoe for Vanessa's dissertation, and we didn't have the proper documents. And I told Nigel, I have experience with not having the proper documents. And so I was helpful. I was avoided paying mordidas, bribes, and maybe kept us out of jail. But we got out, and they didn't check our car, so they didn't find the contraband of the mistletoe. But it was a great experience. And I remember another trip where we were in England together. I was at Oxford, and Nigel was there, and I met Mum, right? And I remember the soda bread that she offered us. And we went to eat curry at a Balti house. And we went to an Aston Villa match, a soccer, football. where I gladly participated in the referee's a wanker chant. It was great. It was great. And I think, and the busyness of life has meant that we don't see each other very much, but it's absolutely true that Nigel is an important part of not only my memories of Pitzer, but the rest of my life after that period. I still do not forgive him for making me apply to the roads. That was not an aspirational thing on my part, believe me. But I went, and the rest is history. But Nigel taught me that friendship, mentorship, and loyalty are the foundation of a meaningful relationship, a lesson that I carry with me every single day of my life. And so I want to say to Nigel, saludos.
Sláinte.
I have tremendous love and respect for Nigel and for the rest of his family. Congratulations. I still don't believe that you're retiring.
Thanks, Mike.
Hello, everyone. Yes, like everybody here, I think for me, coming to Pitzer College, I think a lot of the same sentiments, first generation college student, coming to Pitzer. For me, I followed the footsteps of my sister. She was, or coming from, it's interesting, Juan, we went to the same high school. He was the same year as my sister. So when we were coming out of that community, weren't sure what type of environment we were gonna would be open to us and would allow us to succeed, right? Coming in, we're coming under that imposter syndrome. How do I end up here? I remember taking a comparative literature course and kind of walking out, okay, this is gonna be a tough 4 years. But through that experiences, got to take Nigel's labor studies course, got to know Nigel well inside and outside the classroom, other folks like Jose, that created a community and environment here that allowed a lot of students, for us, to kind of look at our own backgrounds and history and recognize that there was a value in that. And instead of shying away from that immigrant background, working class, agricultural families, that those were values and backgrounds that made us who we were. And that's what kind of Nigel helped garner that and how to make that something that we could use to not only succeed here, but in life itself, right? And the community and friendships we made, are ones that are a lifetime. Vanessa's, as well. The family has always been there, and it's something that to this day I think for a lot of us would have allowed us to be here where we're at today. And also the other professors here. I was just telling a story with Carla. We had just briefly met here at Pitzer at one graduation. We were in course when I went to law school in San Francisco. I pretty much showed up at her door, and I need a place to stay, and they said, sure, welcome to our place there, right? The Mission District. Gentrification was already kind of happening at that time. It was little living room, maybe 5 feet, and that became my housing for the next couple months, and eventually moved on.
You said a year, man. You stayed there
Couple-
long.
We moved from there. Yes, we started there. We moved to. Yes. So exactly. So yeah, in those connections and even in later on, right? Even during the COVID, interesting how things work out and the connections we've made here. We're working providing. I'm an attorney, and we represent a lot of public agencies, cities, and also some community colleges. That's what I do now, more general counsel. And during COVID, we were looking to provide what was called the hero pay, premium pay, to agricultural workers, right? The most vulnerable, out there during COVID were having to work. Obviously, federal funding that was, to mitigate those impacts weren't allowable for some certain communities, especially if you were documented. So we were looking to provide a premium pay for agricultural workers. Hadn't been done. We passed some local ordinances to allow for that. Subsequent to that, we were sued by the federal government. And as part of that defense, actually turned to Juan here to provide some expert declarations to document the impacts on this segment of the workforce and why it was needed an extra pay for these type of workers. So the connections we made here through Nigel, the family, are the ones that even in their professional life are still there and still we're still doing the work that we started here when we were in college. Remember doing a hunger strike here, writing my thesis, and Nigel was very accommodating. Cause I think towards the later chapters, I think you could see the the work. But Nigel, you've been a friend, mentor. I think we all here love you. I think I had my first Guinness with you in my dorm room.
Right, don't say that.
After the fact, and I had my first mimosa. For our graduation, he had a graduation party for all that were graduating. I show up, they're serving real quick. They're serving champagne, and I'm like, okay, what is champagne? And people are putting orange juice. What's going on here? So when he comes to me, he serves me some champagne. He's gonna pour some oranges. I'm like, oh no, I'll take it like that, not knowing that you're supposed to have it that way. But so we had other first, but yeah, overall, it's been a pleasure to be here. It's always making these connections, even here, stuff that we'll connect, and we'll keep working together. But Nigel, yeah, just from us coming here to an institution we weren't sure we belonged, and through it, it became our institution. And we were here, and we weren't going to go nowhere, so we're going to make it a better institution for all of us. And we have a place here, and you helped cultivate that, and we welcome that, and congratulations, and a toast. So.
Of course, Carla.
I forgot to add this. So when we were working in the labor class, he became a father. And so all of us, we didn't have money, right? Because we had work studies. So we were like, all right, you guys, what are we going to do? So we ended up buying his daughter a little onesie with the SEIU, wasn't it, or whatever?
We've still got it.
Was it? Yeah, and I just found out that she's about to have a baby. So I feel really old. But another thing is, during the time, and some of you guys may know this, when we were trying to get the union for our cafeteria workers here, Calderon and him and Arguelles were a key for us to keep on working with them. And I know that one of our, the young women, I call her young women, that is retiring as well, Eloisa. And where's Eloisa?
Stand up, Eloisa.
Hey, Eloisa! So I know that we thank him because he was there with us, like, you guys got to do this, you got to do this. So we were going to him because we didn't know what we were doing, but I think we did, and he had faith in us, just like we had faith in this Irish white man with a funny accent.
Yes. Thanks, Carla. So I'd like to invite up the next group of students here. Now, did Paul Kim make it in yet? He's caught in traffic. He'll. Paul, come on up. Great to see you. So yeah, Paul, Amy, Lexi, and Cesar. Thanks. So, Lexi, what's your drink?
Guinness, please.
Okay. This is the expert. Nacho's got me drunk more often here at Pitzer than anybody. Be very, very careful with his gin and tonics. So, but I've got this, Nacho. I've got this. You're a guest. So please, in the audience, please. Thanks a lot, Nacho. So, and do you want to lead us off there, Lexi, as well? Paul. Oh, yes. There you go.
Awesome. It's really fascinating for the last group to all talk about this like formative labor studies class, because the year I arrived in 2003, Nigel was on sabbatical for the whole year, and then I went study abroad early. So for the whole first chunk of my time at Pitzer, there was this legendary labor studies class taught by this mysterious professor who was a figment of my imagination. And it's funny because once he came back, I basically ambushed him one day in his office. I was like, "You never met me, but I need you to be my advisor. I'm really interested in policy analysis, and I'm really interested in labor stuff, so just be my advisor." And he looked at me and he was like, "Okay." As though like the pitch wasn't necessary, which becomes a theme later on. But it's to have other professors tell you, "Oh yeah, that you need to talk to Nigel when he gets back." Like, yeah, the things that you're interested in, just talk to Nigel. Like, by the time I was here, he had like a brand. And then I went from no experience with Nigel to he was my advisor. I was on the faculty executive committee with him, where we hired 6 full-time academic roles in 1 year. And then the Fulbright process. So it was like a lot of Nigel. And frankly, for Nigel, a lot of me. Last night, I was looking. I have like a thumb drive with all my stuff from the shared drive when you're a student here. And I was actually looking at some of the work that I did, like the writing I did in classes here last night. And there is like and I'm a writer now, so like I feel like very confident in critiquing myself. There's a very clear difference in what I was writing and how I was writing before Nigel entered into my life, and the stuff I was producing after, the way that I was engaging with ideas, the way that I was talking about the things that I was learning. I really went from someone who was doing schoolwork to someone who was learning. And that, like, for someone who shows up in a campus like Pitzer, I'm the first in my family to go to college, like with a huge sense of like imposter syndrome. There's something about like seeing that now in retrospect where it's like, yeah, like everyone needs Nigel. Everyone needs Nigel to be there saying, yeah, what you're interested in matters. Like the things that you've lived through are important. The way that you want to communicate them is unique to you, and that's like valuable. It's really hard to explain what that feels like because it really validates you in this really special, non-syrupy, very funny, soccer-laden, party-focused, like no one wants to have a good time more than Nigel Boyle. And then you get to like be a part of that, and you get to see what it's like for someone to model enthusiasm about ideas and being intellectually curious and being engaged with the world around them. And that there's no way to describe like what that does to you. And it's different for everyone, which I think is why you have so many people here who are going to say different versions of this experience. But it undeniably transforms the way that you encounter the world and the way that you do like the work of living, right? It's not that he always agreed with me. At one point I was like, I'm going to be a labor economist, Nigel. Stay with me. And he took one look at my stats grades at a class I insisted on taking at Harvey Mudd. And he was like, perhaps not. Which was correct. He also referenced the Claremont Symposium, this Fulbright Symposium that he would do when you returned from your study abroad. And I think that is a really good distillation of, at least in my experience here at Pitzer, like the thing that I really walked away from this experience from, and the thing that like Nigel imparted to me that changed me forever, which is, it's not telling you something, it's teaching you how to ask questions. Like ask questions about the experience that you just had, living outside of a culture, living in a culture that's not your own, that's outside of your experience. What is the kind of question that can sustain a career? What is the kind of question that can sustain a Fulbright? What is the kind of question that you need to know the answer to about yourself or about the way the world works for you to feel like you're alive? And that is what I think that is what Nigel means to me. So presenting the work of life to be figuring out the answers to those questions makes it feel really achievable, like that you can live in a way that feels honest and true and genuine and do good work and do meaningful things. And I'm very excited to see what you do with all your free time. And chin chin, sir. Congratulations.
Gotcha.
It's a lot of pressure having to go after all that conversation. I don't actually have too many stories I never took as classes, but I met actually none, right? Like Professor Ilgen, I don't know if Laco's here, but they were my advisors. So, but I, obviously interacted with him, and we did. But the most impactful story I have engaging with Professor Boyle was I was actually writing my application or preparing my application for Fulbright, and even despite getting pretty much everything done, I was like, I don't know if this is the right thing for me. I already spent enough time abroad, coming back, and I was like, maybe this isn't for me. But he convinced me to just go ahead and apply, and I did. And that really changed the trajectory of my life in the sense that I've been in the field that I'm still working in, looking at more of these social development, betterment of the world, especially from the social justice lens. And had I not had the opportunity to be in Thailand, that's where I did my Fulbright, middle of nowhere with nobody speaking English and trying to sort of figure myself out at the same time working with the locals. That really impacted me a lot. And I came back and we had a lot of conversations about my experiences there. And through that experience, I was fortunate also able to get a job in Thailand. So a 1-year assignment turned into a 5-year assignment working with the Royal Families Foundation in Thailand. And that really changed again, really the trajectory. And then one thing that I do want to say about Nigel is that, I have it also not that young, so I've had experiences with many different people. And one thing I keep coming back to Nigel is that he always makes himself available to students and also former students, and I'm sure he does the same for his peers. And that is such a special gift that I received from him whenever I'm sort of in a dilemma or figuring out, even when I was trying to go to grad school, double-checking, I called him up, double-check. But the thing is that he's always making himself available, and I think that's really, really, really special, and that's a rare quality, and genuinely being interested in, what the students want, but also that's when I sort of, as I was reflecting on his experiences with Nigel, I realized that was the fundamental thing, that he was genuinely interested in what I, wanted to do. He probably knew what I wanted to do better than I had at the time when I was doing writing my Fulbright. So I really appreciate, and here I am trying to get my PhD to teach, inspired by you. So thank you very much.
Paul, as always, is very modest. Paul himself has been a real great mentor to a lot of other students. Paul's actually a Navy veteran, came here as an NRS student, and he's helped mentor some other veterans that have come through Pitzer as well. And one thing I'm very proud of at Pitzer is that I think Pitzer is the only, this is the Peace and Love Hippie College. Pitzer College is the only college in the country that has Fulbright winners from all 5 branches of the military, and Paul has helped mentor that. So, Amy.
Before I really get started, I wanted to have a moment of silence for the pale green leather texture Microsoft PowerPoint presentation that Nigel has used in every single class since at least 2006. And at the end of his career here, it will never be used again. So a moment of silence for that. Soak it up. I'm Amy Jasper. I started at Pitzer in 2006, and I had no interest in international relations at all when I came here. And I took so many Nigel classes over my 4 years at Pitzer that when my dad wanted to check in on how was my schoolwork going, he would call me up and say, "How's Nigel doing?" And that was a good segue into what's going on with me. Nigel is really well-liked, well-loved. He's not without his critics, and we all know that. If you look at ratemyprofessors.com right now, there is one negative review that says, quote, "I hate this guy." I hate this guy. All he cares about is soccer. But we all know Nigel is very authentic. You do love soccer. You love your students. You love getting international organizations to fund your travel and recreation. And we love that about you. One memory that pops out to me is I applied for an internship through one of the on-campus institutions here. And while I was waiting for a decision, they emailed me and said, you should really go to this lecture we're hosting on campus. So I went. And a couple of days later, I got the news they didn't give me the internship. They used me to pump up their attendance numbers for this on-campus lecture at Scripps. And I went to Nigel's office in Fletcher, and I told him what had happened. I didn't get it. And for the only time in my whole life, I actually saw Nigel get mad. He was mad on my behalf. And he turned red, and he said, that's not cool, or something with sort of a British Irishisms. And it made me really understand he really cares about people respecting me and using my time with respect, and it made a huge impression on me. I'm one of Nigel's Fulbrighters. I got a Fulbright to Cyprus in 2010, and when I came back, I had no job plans, and I interviewed at the American Civil Liberties Union of Southern California in Los Angeles. And the hiring manager was a big fan of ancient Greek architecture, which I have never had any interest in, but there's some of that in Cyprus. And my Fulbright to Cyprus absolutely helped me get my first job out of college at the ACLU, where it was my dream job of all time. So you have I would give you a lot of credit for that. Last summer, unfortunately, my father passed away, and he loved Nigel, although I don't think you ever met.
We did. I remember him.
You do? Okay. That's nice. It is nice. And we had a memorial service at our synagogue in Orange County. And who should show up to my father's funeral but Nigel Boyle? And he was a wonderful guest. And he gave me a big hug and made me feel better. And he looked at my sleeping child in the stroller who slept through the whole thing and chatted with my aunt who didn't know who you were at all. And it really meant a lot to me, and I will never forget that. So thank you very much. And my mom, when I told her about this retirement, my mom was so excited to celebrate the impact that you have had on my life personally. She invited herself to all these proceedings, and she wanted to celebrate you. Yeah, you're a wonderful person, and you're very kind, and I think all of us can picture you being a wonderful grandpa, so congratulations on that, and thank you for all that you've done. Please keep in touch.
Thanks a lot, Amy. Oh, you guys.
Time for me? Oh,
Time for
hello.
you.
Is this on? Wow, it's been a great show so far for you, Nigel. You're getting a lot. I'm very excited for my own in 30 years from now, or 29 by the end of this. Yeah, I mean, I think there's so many. I think we could be here all day. Now that I have a Guinness in hand, I would, for the pictures my parents are gonna see, this is the first alcoholic beverage I've had at Pitzer College. Thank you. I was sort of trying to think what I could say about Nigel in a handful of minutes, and it was kind of tough because I think one of the key, there's three key things that he's been able to do for me in terms of what I've seen in the community and for my own life. The first is visionary. He sees things that central midfielder sees 3 passes ahead. For those Americans in the crowd, that's like a quarterback throwing a pass and knowing what's going to happen after. But he has been able to see from seeing Pitzer what a key sort of insight it is to get Fulbright in there with the Pitzer ethos to be able to generate and have this tiny little college in the east part of LA to become an absolute Fulbright machine. And I think that is absolutely a huge contribution that you're going to have forever. He also is a visionary when it comes to people. I seem kind of very well put together now, but this was not me 15 years ago when I started at Pitzer College. And it was not me about a decade ago. So for a long time at Pitzer, I kind of came in thinking like, well, like I'm going to go to med school, political science, I'll take it. It's great. It'll work out. It's fun. I take politics of soccer with Nigel. Sounds like a great time. But I was very driven to go to medical school. And then I came back from a Fulbright and from working at a hospital where I realized, maybe this is not what I want to do. And it was a phone call with Nigel that has forever changed my life and that of the students that I will be grading this weekend. Because he said something that I still remember where I was standing at that moment. It was this hallway in Chula Vista after I just had worked at the hospital. And I was telling him how I was kind of having a tough time still thinking about going through medical school. And he said, and I'm not going to try to make your accent because I think I do not have that skill set. Have you thought about a PhD? Now, my immediate reaction was somewhere in the middle of mumbling, like, maybe, and isn't that for nerds? Like, but now I can confess to you that as one of those nerds, I had not considered a PhD at all. I didn't think it was feasible. I didn't think I could get there. I thought you needed a master's and a lot of money to be able to get behind it. And I didn't have either a master's or a lot of money. But it was his encouragement, again, seeing 3 to 4 steps ahead of what I could do, that now is the reason why I'm standing here. My commute was 15 minutes walking because he was able to get me there. And for that, I thank you a lot, Nigel. I would not be here had it not been for that phone call. The second thing he's also taught me has been, I think you call yourself like the fellowship pimp. I think more of like a hustler. Like, yeah, see, that's what I'm talking about. Like, Nigel can just squeeze oranges out of really dry oranges, juice out of really dry oranges, because when he says like funding for a sport, he tells the government it's for an academic trip. And I have taken that a lot with my own career in order to be able to maximize things, to be able to see where the opening is, to be able to provide something to students beyond just sort of what's the limits of it. And then the third thing is, Nigel, you once told me that I, as a very proud Irishman, you support Ireland and whoever's playing England. And now I subscribe to that theory. So whoever's playing England is gonna get my support. And I don't think I can keep going because I'll start crying. So I'm just gonna end it here. But thank you, Nigel.
Thanks a lot.
Oh, sure.
Just one thing. Amy brought up Rate My Professor, and one of my favorite encounters with Nigel, I was in for an academic advising session, and I was like, I'm going to take a class at Pomona, and it's this professor, and he says, this is what it says on Rate My Professor about this person. And Nigel looks around conspiratorially and then leans forward and says, I have a pepper on Rate My Professor. Which I don't know if they still do it, but that meant that like someone thought you were hot. And I was like, Nigel, are you checking Rate My Professor? About you? And then he leaned back and said, I'll see you next week.
Thanks a lot, Lexi. So take it with you.
Oh, is that for me? Oh,
Yeah. Cheers. Cheers. So could I now have the last quartet, Michael, Danny, Bernie, and Kenny. Get your seat. What'll it be, Michael?
Guinness.
Guinness. Do you want to get us started, Michael?
Yes. No mic or anything, right?
Oh, sorry, no, there is a mic. Excuse me, sorry.
Oh. Sorry about that. So, oh, here we go.
Do you want me to hold the mic?
Nope, I got it. Thank you. Thank you. Hello, testing. Okay, all right. It's an honor to be speaking here today, speaking about someone who's not only been a mentor to me, but a guide, an advocate, and one of the most quietly powerful forces in my life, Nigel Boyle. As a formerly incarcerated, non-traditional age college student, I arrived at Pitzer with questions about whether I belong in spaces like this. Nigel didn't answer those questions. He dismantled them. Whether that was in his class, in an independent study, on higher education in prison, or an Inside Out class, the carceral state in comparative perspective, or as a faculty advisor, he didn't just teach theory, he taught us how to name power, how to confront injustice, and how to center humanity, and most importantly, how to show up for people. But Nigel just didn't stop at the classroom. I've done fellowships under his guidance. I've asked him probably more times than I can count for letters of recommendation, and he's always said yes.
I can't open it.
But not just with, he didn't just say yes. He always said yes with generosity and care. He's put me in leadership positions. He's given me a chance to mentor and valued my input, and most importantly, believed in me. And as I could see from the other kind of cohorts of, other students who have sat at this bar, I can tell that this has been true for decades even. And then there was the hike. So if you know Nigel, you know he likes to hike. And let me warn you, these hikes can be treacherous. So I remember one time Nigel invited me on a hike. He said, oh, it's gonna be a short hike, about 2 to 3 hours, 4 hours max. And I see some other fellow hikers in this audience here. So we start going on this hike, and it happened just to have just snowed. And so we start hiking. At some point, we're going up to Rancho Cucamonga Peak, and we lose the trail. And I ask him, you've been on this hike before, right? Oh, yeah, many times. I think, followed by, I think we're going the right way. So that hike turned into being about 8 to 9 hours long. It was treacherous, but we made it, and I've been on many hikes since then. It didn't discourage me, but I just know, like, if you're going, a piece of advice I give to other fellow students or alumni who go on hikes, like pack snacks, maybe a tent, like you may have to be prepared to camp out there because it was treacherous. But that's how he leads. That's how he teaches. That's how he mentors. He doesn't pretend to have all the answers, but he always moves forward with you, not ahead of you. He makes you feel seen. He challenges your ideas and reminds you in big ways and small that you belong in the room, in a seminar, and in the conversation. Nigel, your retirement marks a close to an incredible chapter, but your legacy is still climbing. You've shaped the lives of students who will go on to shape the world, and I'm one of them. I'm better for having you in my life as a mentor, as an advisor, as a friend, and thank you for just showing up and showing out and showing us what it means to, generally care about people. Thank you.
Cheers. Are you good?
There we go.
Thanks a lot, Michael. Kenny, would you mind going next?
It's not fair that you made me follow Michael's great speech, but I'll try. My experience with Nigel started at CRC. And, just to be frank, I have never met a white person in my life that cares so much about me in general. I mean, the fact that he cares about all these different people here, all you out here to see him, and he has been like, he's just been amazing in my life. So him turning me on to the Fulbright was something I never imagined. We took a class, we had a student on Zoom, Opio Moses on Zoom, and then he had the great idea when I was released from prison, like, you should apply for the Fulbright. I'm like, shit, I ain't going to no Africa. What I look like? But we started the workshop, and he convinced me that I could do this. He made me believe in myself. And so, I went on the journey. I thought it was just I'm just gonna go through the motions. Nigel pressing me, I'm gonna do it. And it turns out it actually happened. And when I had an obstacle because I was on parole, and Nigel challenged the system to the core. This is what he was real proactive in getting this done. He asked my parole officer said no. He went to the regional, he went to his supervisor. His supervisor said no. He almost got me in trouble. The man called me. The man called me and threatened me like, I don't appreciate that guy doing that. And he kept going. Then he called the regional people. He called the regional supervisors. They said no. And Nigel, in his infinite wisdom, he pulled some strings. This all happened in like no more than an hour and a half. I'm hearing all this conversation. Parole officer comes to my apartment. He said, I don't know who the hell you know. I don't know who I know either. I know Nigel. But he accomplished something. I was off parole within 8 months. Now, we had this great talk over here in the hall about life without the possibility of parole. I was one of those persons who had life without the possibility of parole. And so Nigel expanded my worldview in ways that I would never have imagined. And so he's like a nurturer. I don't know, men don't like to be called that. I know it's supposed to be, but he nurtured me for sure. And I see him as not only a friend, but as a father figure. And he's not that much older than me. I'm 51 years old. But, and it was just so impactful for me going to Potato Mountain that first time, having that experience. He turned me into a hiker. Even after I broke my leg in Uganda, I hold you responsible for that as well, for sending me over there. But it's just, inviting me into his home, inviting us into his home after being in prison for 15 years and coming into a space where Leave It to Beaver house is on the block that he lives on. So that's just something, it's just something that's very impactful. I think so. He's been real great at what he does for every student, but I think for me and Daniel Duran, we were here in Claremont, living at the Keck Graduate Institute, and Nigel did everything for us. We were actually like his children. I know grown men don't want to admit that, but I'm gonna admit it. And it was just great to know him. And I have a concern about him retiring, because what are you going to do? You have a beautiful family here, I know that, but what are you going to do with your time? You do so much. Are you going to be satisfied?
I'm going to be fucking hiking. That's what I'm going to be doing.
Well, I'll be there. I'll be there. But, to close it off, Nigel has been real supportive of me. I was in the hospital. This man drove. I know he's a busy guy. He drove to LA in traffic to make sure he come and checked on me while I was in the hospital bed. And he even pulled some strings and got me like a certificate from one of these senators. I had no idea who it was, but I was great that the assembly recognized me, and Nigel made that happen. And he always pushed me to be the front. I'm a humble, quiet guy. Don't do a lot of talking. This is probably the most talking I've done in a long time. And he knows that. I haven't started sweating yet, so I might be, but this is something I'm passionate about. And Nigel, man, thank you for everything that you do for us. And I look forward to seeing what you're going to do in the future. And I'll be here to support you. And he also calls me like a Job-like figure for all the stuff I've been through in my life. And I've never heard that before, but I have read the Bible. At first I thought it was an insult, and then I just realized that he said that, I have this ability to be resilient and tenacious. And I'm inspired by Nigel, just sitting here in this office over here. What is that space, this little study room you have up there in the hall? Just watching this man answer 1 million emails and do all this work, and knowing that he has all these guys coming home. He's going to pick them up from the prison and bring them to Claremont. I see Angel over here shaking his head. He got the experience. I was like the test subject, the guinea pig, and it all worked out. And now we have all these wonderful guys behind us doing this work, and I'm grateful to be a part of this. And thank you for having me, Nigel. I love you, sir.
So I have to say this at this point. My favorite hike ever was one time Kenny and I just were alone up hiking towards Mount Baldy. And it wasn't that photo, but it was, we came to this tree. Kenny's body is battered from all sorts of things that happened to him earlier in his life, as well as almost losing his leg in Uganda. But we were there and we were resting by this old tree. And if some of the old trees up on top of Mount Baldy, they're sort of battered and twisted, and part of the tree is dead, and it's really deformed by the terrible climate. And we were talking, and the metaphor occurred to both of us at the same moment, that this was Kenny. He's battered, deformed, beaten in all sorts of ways, but still growing. And that's my favorite ever hike. So, Danny, would you mind?
Hi, everyone. My name is Danny. I had the pleasure of meeting Nigel in 2022 when I applied for the second BA cohort at CRC. And he was sitting across the desk with Ty Griffith and Barbara Junisby. And he's interviewing me, and I don't know why I mentioned this, but I told him I wasn't really interested in education. I was interested in going to fire camp and being a firefighter. You guys shouldn't do that in an interview, but I did. And lo and behold, I got accepted to Pitzer College. I'm like, I got accepted? Like, what did they see in me? And then that subsequent semester, I took his class, Carceral State. And I remember during a break, during one of our classes, he tells me, hey, Danny, have you thought of graduate school? I'm like, I don't even think I'm gonna finish my undergrad school. And he goes, you should start thinking of USC, UCLA for graduate school. And yeah, I was not thinking about that. I was just like, I'm just trying to get to the semester, go home. At the time, I'd been incarcerated since I was 17, so I was 14 years in my sentence. But he instilled hope in me. I had lost my dad in 2015, and he came into my life where I needed like a father figure, someone to guide me. And he's been that every step of the way, a mentor, an advisor, a fatherly figure. I was released in 2023 to a lockdown halfway home, and it was during my last semester at Pitzer. And at the time, they wouldn't allow me to do any of my classes. And one day I'm like taking a nap in my room, and someone knocks on my door, and they say, hey, some white guy outside waiting for you. I'm like, white guy? He's like, yeah, he's down there talking to your parole officer. I'm like, oh boy. Yeah, I'm thinking I'm in trouble. I go down there to the office. I'm taking my time, like literally like walking so slow, because I'm afraid of what they're gonna tell me. And I get down there and I see him. He has like a bag with like Pitzer gear, and he has me sit down with the parole officer, and he's trying to convince him to let me take Zoom classes to finish the semester. And my parole officer agreed. And also, like, I wasn't able to have a phone at the time, but the parole officer agreed. And I realized, like, a long time ago that he has a way of being able to convince people to do things. And that was just the start of like a friendship that I truly cherish. And last night, so I work for a community-based organization where we teach creative writing in the juvenile halls and juvenile probation camps. And last night, I was facilitating one of our writing circles, and the topic was write a letter to someone you admire. And I already had this thought, like I want to write a letter to Nigel. And I'd like to share it with y'all. And I'm gonna keep it short because I know you guys want to drink. So. Dear Nigel, thank you for saving me during a time of unease and grief. You said you were not there to save me, to save my life, but I wasn't sure whether to believe. I was conditioned to keep my guard up and keep people at a distance. But you showed resilience and how to be consistent. In spite of the institution resistance, you trudge along. You remain humble, evident by your Kia minivan you drive. My most memorable moments are watching soccer at your house and hiking Mount Baldy. Spending quality time with your loved ones is what you taught me. You're a dying breed in a world of manipulation and greed. You're a unicorn in the world of academia. Thank you for risking your career and coming into the prison without fear. This Friday, I will shed a tear, my friend, as I watch you retire while I listen to the cheers. And because you're Irish and I'm Mexican, let's celebrate with a beer.
I'm at a Guinness. Thanks, Danny. Last, Bernie, who's been fortified by his Irish car bomb, and it looks like he's going for a second, actually. Go for it, Bernie.
Wow, I've been asked to close this out. So how are you guys doing tonight? Everyone had a good time, right? Everyone had a good time. Nigel, look at this. Did you ever think it'd be this packed? Did you ever in your wildest dreams think that you'd have this room right now?
Maybe.
Where's all the cohorts at? Make some noise. Woo! So I've been asked to close this out, but I only got 5 minutes, so I just want to tell you to validate your parking. Make sure you drive safe. No, I'm just kidding. But I just wanted to, really, I was going to come out here and really just come out and make a joke about the size of your head and just talk about that. That's how I was going to start the speech and make a heartfelt speech. But then, I seen everything's been said today about you. Really, today I saw that Greg Popovich, who's a head coach of the Spurs, a legendary head coach, he retired today. And for those of you who don't know, he's won multiple championships. He was a head coach here at Pomona Pitzer in the 80s. And he managed to have a lot of success here within the Pomona Pitzer community. And that's sort of what Nigel has done. He's known how to go inside the prisons. I met him in prison. He knows how to go inside, and he knows how to teach cohesion. He knows how to inspire and motivate and educate individuals to strive for greater things. We would have settled for I'll just speak for myself. I would have settled for the medial thing in life, but he inspired me to go for championships, to go for titles, defend those titles, and all these other guys that are around me. I do that to uplift because I'm inspired by Nigel Boyle and what he does and the work that he's put in, day out, for the last several decades. I'm very inspired by him and what he's been able to do. When I first met Nigel, I was in blues. I had a bald head, tattoos, and I was applying for the cohort, and this was back in 2022. And I went up to Nigel. He didn't know that my background. I've done security for the Kardashians or Michael Jordan or other high clientele. So I go up to him, and imagine that a guy in blues with a bald head and tattoos. And this is one of the heads of one of the most prestigious colleges in the country. And I go up to him and I say, "Excuse me, do you guys have security on?" He's like, "What the fuck? This guy's gonna rob us if I let him in this college." And and that's one of the things about Nigel is that he learns with empathy. He teaches us to empathize with one another. He has the patience, and he's pragmatic in his approach about how he goes about dealing with each of us as individuals. Because much like Greg Popovich, we all come from different backgrounds. We all come from different walks of life. We all have different perspectives about life. But the idea ultimately is to help us all achieve our goals. And that's what Nigel has really done with us. So when I was selected to the cohort by Nigel, Tai, and Barbara, who are in the crowd, they all kind of believed in me, and they all helped others get accepted into this community. And what he's really done throughout this whole time is he's really just created extensions of the branches, and the root is Nigel Boyle and what he's been able to do. And he's been able to kind of create these pathways for us, and that's what the BA pathway cohort is all about, and what we've been able to do, kind of go off and create pathways for others that come out of prison and give them the opportunity to have them succeed, and to also introduce them to this community so that they can have a better way of life, not only for themselves, but for their families, for their loved ones, and for the community as a whole. So anyway, yeah, I'm pretty drunk at this point. So well, one thing I wanted to say was, as much as Nigel's been able to inspire, as much as Nigel's been able to do, he's always been a father figure to us. He's always been a mentor. I lost my father very early on in my incarceration, and he was able to uphold that mantle and kind of take me in sort of like a son. And every time when I go hiking with him, I have a drink with him, I go have dinner with him, it's him sort of being there as a support system to me. And I know many of the same guys feel the same way about him, because he's always been there for us. I was sick a few days ago, and he was so worried about me. A lot of guys have faced adversity within their reentry process, and he's always there to kind of just be there and ask him, are you okay? If anything ever happens, he's always there for you. He'll be there to be at your loved one's funeral. He'll be there if you graduate from graduate school. He'll be there if you get a fellowship. And he'll ultimately be there for you because he's loyal to the soil. And for that, I thank you, Nigel Boyle.
Thanks, guys. Bernie mentioned my big Irish head, and after listening to all of this, it's just kind of... I want to thank all 12 folks that spoke tonight. It's really been a privilege. I always say this to the CRC guys in particular. I'm paid good money to work with students like this. You know, what better sort of job could you have? And I think that's been my history here. I've loved working with great students like this. At this point, I should probably say my thank yous to all of the people that have made my 33 years here so professionally and personally fulfilling. But that's a very, very long list. So I'm actually going to spare you the Oscar acceptance speech, and I'll say my thank yous privately. A quick shout out, though, to 4 people that have helped make today possible. Brooke and Shannon from the alumni office. Miguel there at the back. And the one person who is truly irreplaceable at Pitzer, faculty are easily replaceable, but Mark Krobuk is irreplaceable. So we're going to finish in a moment here now, and we'll invite you all to go outside. The bar is going to be open until 6. The Guinness will be flowing. And then after that, you can adjourn down to McConnell for dinner. And so I hope many of you can join us for that. And also, before we leave the auditorium tonight, and I'll probably ask the folks at the back to come in and sort of fill in some of the seats. I want to get a group photo of everybody's here, because I want to capture this moment. So we'll do that in just a second. So, but I want to finish now, and I'm going to finish by attempting to sing. I say attempting because I've a very bad singing voice. But anyway, the parting glass. Of all the money that ever I had, I spent it in good company. And for all of the harm that ever I done, alas, it was to none but me. And all I've done for want of wit, to memory now I can't recall. So fill to me the parting glass. Good night and joy be with you all. Of all of the comrades that ever I had, they're sorry for my going away. And for all of the students that ever I taught, they'd wish for me to stay one more day. But since it falls unto my lot that I should leave and you should not, I gently rise and I softly call, good night and joy be with you all. Thank you.